Ayesha walked into her new college, clutching the strap of her bag tightly. Her black hijab framed her face perfectly, but today, she wished she could disappear into the crowd. She had always been proud of her hijab, until now. The moment she stepped into the bustling hallway, she felt eyes on her. Not admiration, but judgment. A group of girls, dressed in trendy clothes with flawless makeup, exchanged glances and smirked. "Isn't it too hot for that?" one of them whispered, loud enough for Ayesha to hear. Her heart sank. She sat in class, feeling smaller than ever. Every time she looked around, she saw girls flipping their hair, laughing freely, blending in. And there she was, covered, different. That evening, she stood before her mirror, running her fingers over the fabric of her hijab. "Maybe if I remove it, they'll accept me," she thought. The next morning, she stepped out without her hijab. At first, it felt strange, like she had lost a part of herself. But as she entered college, she noticed something odd. The same girls who mocked her were now treating her indifferently. She had changed for them, yet they still didn't accept her as their own. Days passed, and an emptiness grew in her heart. She no longer felt the peace she once had. She had removed her hijab, but at what cost? One afternoon, she overheard a conversation. The same girls were gossiping about each other. "Did you see her outfit today? So outdated. She tries too hard to fit in. She thinks she's better than us, but she's just pretending." Ayesha froze. These were the girls she had wanted to impress. And yet, they didn't even respect each other. That night, she cried, seeking guidance in her prayer. She opened the Quran and her eyes fell on. "And do not be deceived by the worldly life, and do not be deceived about Allah by the deceiver." Quran 35:5. She realized she had been seeking approval from those who didn't even value themselves. The next morning, she stood before the mirror, her hijab in her hands. But this time, she wore it with confidence. When she walked into college, she felt the stares again. But today, she didn't care, because she was no longer ashamed. She wasn't oppressed. She wasn't weak. She was honored. And for the first time, she smiled, not for the world, but for herself. Never change yourself for people who don't value you. True confidence comes from faith, not from seeking approval from others. Hijab is not a burden, it's a crown of dignity.